Hey y'all, welcome to Other Realm Studio. This is Paula Richey, and we are in the middle of my entire family playing squads in Fortnite as bananas. So things may get a little noisy in the background. But that's okay. Oh, I have my mic turned down about halfway, so I'm hoping that you can mostly hear me and not miss chaos in the background. And today we are working on some of the creatures found in my comic series, Soulbound, which some of them are going to be a little later than in this, well actually most of them will be a little later in this series than issue 1, and issue 1 is just about ready to go to print. Oh good gracious, child. Alright, so I ran a poll on Twitter asking which of these creatures should be next, and I had a tie again. But last time the tie was between the Arachne and the Basilisk, and this time the tie is between the Basilisk and what was the other one? I think the Moat Monster. So I'm gonna call it tonight as the Basilisk. So whoever was hoping to see the Basilisk last time, you get to watch me work out how to draw him tonight. So let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to be checking different chats and comment threads. I'm on 3 simultaneously right now, which is interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see the comments on the one for Facebook, and I don't know where to find the comments on the YouTube one. I don't know. I guess I will just check the live stream comments on Twitch. So, let's see. Back on here. So I'm working in Clip Studio Paint, and it's a really good graphics program, and I'm using the Wacom Intuos tablet, which is very nice. I like how responsive it is. The only problem is I'm not drawing directly on the screen of it. I'm watching the computer screen as I draw on the tablet. So this initial bit right here is just figuring out the pretty much the skeleton of what I'm creating. And building up the mass around it. So in the world of my story, I have a guild of assassins that take their name from the basilisks that are a real creature in this world. Let me erase this. So yeah, I am ever so slightly distracted by the noise of game playing in the background. Oh, well, they're all having fun. So, the yeah, I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. But the legend of the basilisk, not so much the real creature, but the legendary one is a creature that if you if it looks at you, or if you look it in the eyes, it can turn you into stone. So that was a terrifying creature based in ancient Greek mythology. And I have several creatures like that in this universe, but also some more that come from some different traditions in mythology. So I like a lot of mythology and cryptozoology. And that's what I get my ideas for weird creatures from that appear in the world in my fantasy comic. So when my main character, Becca, shows up there, she has a lot of new things to suddenly learn how to deal with. So, let's see, we'll put some spurs on him like a rooster. And also he's gonna have a very heavy tail that comes out and drags behind him like this. So what these sketches are going to be for is when I run the Kickstarter, which is like a crowdfunding platform. Now I'm explaining a lot more about this because I'm also putting the live stream on Facebook. So I have a lot of friends on Facebook who might not know what Kickstarter is. And this might be the first they've really seen of my drawing or heard of my story. Usually for me, Facebook is keeping up with the news and the baby pictures. So, let's see. I'm going to make him a little more craggy than he appears right now. He looks terribly friendly currently. I don't know what's going on with the game right now that they're all playing, but apparently it's hilarious. But where was I? Kickstarter is a crowdfunding site, and I just wanted to use it to get a little boost on the money to print the comic so that people can essentially order copies of it, and I can just fulfill it through there. Or do the payment processing through there. And that way I'll also know if I need to do more than 500 copies, which is kind of my base that I set for how many minimum I need to do. So, alright, so you can see that this is looking very sloppy, but this is just a sketch. Excuse me, tripping over my own tongue here. This is just a sketch phase that's just for me to know the proportions and such of the creature that I'm drawing. So I just need to lay out his bone structure, about where the musculature is going to go, and a few of the smaller details, so that I don't forget where I was going with this design. And I was also going to do something. The eyes are going to look a bit more hooded in here. He looks rather grumpy. So the next step is to put another layer on top of this and find a more sensible color to be using. I'm going to go with a dark green and zoom in on him and just make this one a less detailed sketch than the last one I did. The last one was one of the arachne, and I did a full-on portrait of her, and it went on a bit longer than I really should have. So we'll get the eye going on. And I might end up putting more detail in just the eye itself. Okay, let me shake out my wrist a bit. So he's gonna have a bit more of a narrower beak, and then he'll come back and get very, very jowly right here. So during the crowdfund, if I get more than 20 backers, like 20 people pledging to buy the book, then I will send all of them a printable sheet of one of the creatures from the book, or well, from the whole series, because they're not all going to appear in the first book. I would love to get the entire series made so that everything gets a chance to show up. I just wanted to, if there's, goodness, it is kind of hard to talk and draw at the same time. But, yeah, if I get more than 20 backers, I'm going to be sending a printable PDF of these sketches, like I'm making, to each of the backers, in addition to the comic, so that they can see the creatures and that will be coming up. And I'll have a title over here. I'm going to use the text feature and put their name up at the top and write down a little bit about what they are and about their habitat and stuff. Something like a field guide to the mythical creatures. So I'm going to be launching it pretty soon, actually. I'm not entirely happy with where this toe is just yet. Let's see. I think it would actually be coming out more this way, come to think of it. So, I neaten that up. So I'm not the artist on this book. I hired an artist. Her name's Mia Pierce. Her work is excellent, and she's got this lovely flowing style to her inks. And as you can see here, my inking is much more sketchy and rough looking. At least on digital. I've been trying to make it flow more smoothly, but you know, it's going to take more practice. Everything is practice. And also she's really good at sequential art, so that's why I didn't do the line art for the book. But I did do the colors, and you know, I wrote it. I scripted everything out, and we went back and forth until it was all exactly the way I wanted it to look. And I've also got some more help on the book. I hired Wes Loker as a letterer, and he's a comic creator himself, so he knows what it's like. And I wanted to do some fairly complicated stuff with the lettering, to get across the idea of a lot of different things going on. So one of the main problems that I had was I wanted to illustrate the language barrier between my two main characters, Becca and Torin. And they can't understand each other, but I did want the reader to be able to understand them. So I wanted to get that across with something with, I wasn't quite sure what, with the speech bubbles, with the font. I mean, like most of, I mean, they do get over the language barrier after a few issues, and then the rest of the comic's going to be mostly in Torin's language. So I didn't want to do something unreadable for his font. Or something that was too eccentric for it, because you'd be spending most of your time reading that language and that font, and it would be, I don't want anything too annoying. Okay, I like the direction of this line a little bit better for the tail. It just sort of gives more weight to it right there. And I think that if I bring this down more at a more steep angle than what I currently have, I think I'll like it better. So, something interesting in folklore is that there's the origin of the basilisk, which has a lot to do with chickens. Now, I don't remember, is it a basilisk or a cockatrice that is hatched out of a chicken's egg that some kind of a reptile has sat on? I don't know. I'm gonna have to actually look it up, but they're actually both very similar. It's sort of a chicken lizard cross going on. So I wanted to, with both of them. So I wanted to show that in some of the design for what this creature is. So it's definitely got sort of chickeny sorts of legs, and it's going to have a footprint a lot like a chicken. So something very clawed, like a dinosaur. And I have chickens, so they do stomp around like uncivilized things a lot. But given that it's a lizard, I kind of also wanted to give it 4 legs. And a bit of a mane on it here to bring to mind like a rooster's comb. And let's hide this layer. Let's hide our pink layer. And you can see where we are going with the whole creature now. So there's still a lot of gaming noise going on in the background here. Let's see. So he's going to be more of a scaly lizard. More of an armor-plated variety. Although I think I'm going to do something slightly different with this front pattern as I go. There's autosave. Okay, now I can start again. I think I'm going to change how it looks right up in here under his throat and go with a double scale pattern down through his underbelly, and then continue with the armored look across the rest of him. So this is just going to be a quicker sketch. So I'm not going to go in and do colors and shading and so forth on him. Let's see, I think should I make him more narrow through here? So yeah, he's just gonna have green lines and be a sketch with maybe some higher detail in the eyes. Now, one of the things that I make for Comic Cons is a pinback button that it's the eyes made out of resin, and I cast those myself, and the backing is also resin, which I also cast. And it's in the shape of the basilisk's eye, and that's like the emblem of the Assassin's Guild. That at one point, Becca and Torin in the comic need to escape from. Or that they encounter. So okay, so I'm going to mark out where the edges of the claws are. Because that's going to have a different texture than the legs. So, let's see. The next creature that I'm going to be working on, I haven't decided yet. I might run another poll. I have a few ideas. I have a lot of creatures in this world to be working with. So there's a moat monster that is a lot like a catfish. Just huge. And terrifying. And there's also coin dragons, which are cute. And I cast and paint little dragons to well, to guard your change jar with. And there's actually a small, they do actually have a small part in the other realm. You know, just because I love them and it's my story, I can put them in if I want. But they're also rather useful. So there is that. It's not just me. They are useful. Let's see. There's a lot of others. There's pretty much crows. They don't need a lot of embellishing. It's kind of hard to believe just how weird crows are. But I've heard that I've read a lot of stories about crows. So there's going to be something interesting about crows and the way they'll bear a grudge. In one of the scenes that's also got the arachne in it, and so I don't know, I might do a straight up realistic sketch of a crow. I'll have to look at some references. So I've been working on live streaming every night for over a week now. Mostly I've just been casting to Twitch. But I don't know a lot of people who are on Twitch. So everybody's heard of YouTube, so I was working on getting YouTube up and running. I'm not sure how to check the comments on YouTube though. So if you're on there and you've said something, I would love to say something back, but I don't know how to get to you. And it's a lot to keep up with, really. So I think there's a way to consolidate all the chats, but I haven't figured it out yet. But bear with me, I will figure it out. But sometimes the only way to figure out how to do something is to just jump in and get started on it. I mean, the only thing that's a guarantee is that you're not going to do it perfectly. Not the first time, not the second time, probably not the 20th time, but you will get better each time that you try. And it's just as true for art as it is for live streaming and anything to do with technology. So I'm gonna sketch a little more on this guy. He doesn't have to be terribly detailed. I need to remind myself of that. He's not gonna be perfect. but I do need to save myself some time to zoom in on the eyes. I usually do a lot more work up close. But I need to see where the rest of his scales are going and not work close on this. So he's going to be more sketchy than usual. I mean, even for me. Let me shake out my wrist again. I started scooting in closer and closer and closer to the microphone because Miss Chaos was in the back playing video games, and she just gets so terribly excited and bounces all over the place and talks a lot. And so I think that her adorable and squeaky little voice is probably picked up much better by the mic than mine. So I had the mic turned down a bit, and I started scooting over here by it, and that's kind of got my posture off just a little bit. So the basilisk is not a terribly large creature. It is about the size of like an armadillo or a chicken. You know, it's something that could be mistaken for an armadillo if you were hoping to see one instead of this monstrosity. Yeah, something weird. We saw an armadillo on the side of the road a couple months ago. I had never seen one before. I don't think that they're native to this state. Why are there armadillos in South Carolina? Why? I think they carry leprosy. It's not a good creature to see. I wouldn't have expected that. On the other hand, it's not fire ants. Although we have plenty of those too. It's kind of hard to top fire ants for worst invasive species. As long as we're going with invasive species, maybe I should add fire ants to Soulbound. No. No, I would like there to be one universe out there that doesn't contain fire ants. They're the worst. They're worse even than my super creepy spider girls. Okay, so in just a minute, I'm going to finish up all this little scaly work and zoom in on the face. Because right now, he's looking like his head doesn't match his body. But I'll get there. It's just this is going to be very small work back here on the tail because it's further away, and also it tapers. And so the scales on the tail are going to be somewhat smaller. So something interesting. I haven't tried streaming to 3 different channels at once before. And also, while I have done a stream before during a game, I didn't have quite so many people playing at once. And trying to not only have 3 people in this house, but they were also meeting up with a friend online as well. Yeah, to form an entire squad for the game. So Joe was a little concerned. He was asking if any of this was going to interfere with bandwidth, but I haven't heard any complaints from there, and everything looks like it's working on my end. Okay. A little bit of hatching just for some detail. To show that they're rough scales. And of course all these sketches I will touch up before I offer them as rewards on the Kickstarter. And they'll each have a little write-up on what the creature is, what it's like, possibly what its role is in the story, or its role in the ecology of the other realm. So if there's something here that doesn't look quite complete, I'll catch it. So yeah, I was thinking maybe for every 10 backers or maybe for every 20, I'd have another creature, well, field guide page added to the digital rewards that come with each. Each copy of the comic, or comic plus poster, or whatever else people end up getting. So I put a few options up on the draft for the Kickstarter, and I'm just still getting stuff together, but it's nearly done. I was actually thinking about April 11th to launch it. Not for any particular reason, just I think that Thursdays would be nice. And I need to kind of get an idea of how many copies I need soon, so that I can get it all printed and ready to go, delivered here by August. August would be awesome, because I have one Comic-Con left this year. Soda City Comic-Con in Columbia, South Carolina. It's going to be August 10th, well, the weekend of August 10th. And so I need my comic then. But I was also really looking forward to Electric City Comic Con again, which was a Comic Con put on by the Anderson County Library. And I love that con. I mean, it's so organized. The librarians are so nice. They help you load out. It's just the most wonderful small con, but really worth going to. And they're not doing it this year. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's not going to be a Comic-Con. So I'm still kind of sad about that. I really, really enjoyed Electric City Comic Con while it lasted. So, yeah, I only have one more con booked this year. I wasn't sure about the logistics of getting to the other smaller cons, so I didn't sign up for any. I didn't sign up for FlowCon or SwanCon. I thought about it. I'll probably will sign up for them for next year, but it's probably too late to sign up for any more this year. So my only con left is going to be Soda City. Come on, scrolling right. Come on. The mouse is going to be a little bit stubborn. See, that's not the direction I'm going. Okay. There we are. I think I just have to press on it a little more firmly. So I'm going to... Oh, that's the blend. Okay. Okay, so need to remember this is where its little ear hole is. And I think its face is going to be more narrow. Right there, and then get very heavy toward the back. So I'd like to have a lot of people, be interested in the comic and buy a copy. It might not be to everybody's taste. It's gonna have monsters and magic and psyche and philosophy and cryptids in it. And I know, I was going somewhere with that sentence, and I got caught up in this little detail and forgot what I was doing. Yeah, it's one of the hazards of trying to draw and talk at the same time. Okay, so I like this shape a lot better. So I saw something very interesting today. Joe was watching this program about, weird phenomena in nature. And they had some things that, they had some, like, interesting animals and stuff. There's a toad called the Wolverine toad that can shove its own bones through its toes. I'm like, wow. So they don't mean like Wolverine like the animal, they mean Wolverine like the comics. And that was interesting. And they also said that it's very unusual in that it has this kind of hairy scales on it, which is weird for an amphibian. And, well, yes, indeed, that is pretty weird for an amphibian. It's almost spiny looking along its sides. So that's kind of informing what I'm doing here with some of the scales on this side, because it was almost like a feather effect, which is pretty useful for a basilisk. Yeah, I'm gonna erase this bit and see how it looks more trimmed up. Oh, come on, erase. There it goes. So given that it looks so much like an armadillo, I wonder if this is the sort of creature to roll itself up in a protective ball. That would be something interesting. I'll have to see if the basilisk actually has a role to play later on in the comic, other than being the creature that the Guild of Assassins takes its name from. So I'm going to make the eyes a lot more like the way that I make the pinback button. It's not like a regular round pinback. I actually cast it in resin and attach the pin to it. So there's like this ridge along the bottom of it. And then there's almost a feathered look to the ridge over the top. And so their coloration varies from metallic or coppery to green or red. It might be due to the age of the creature or to its environment. Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why they would have different colors. Let's see, get back here to this one. Let's see, start off the scales looking like smaller feathery bits, and then as they get out towards the neck, you know, looking more like armor. And I'm hoping that I can get this with more of a lighter, sketchy approach than with having to put lines exactly where every single one should go, because that's like drawing a grid. And while grids are very useful, I don't need to draw any more grids right now. It would take a lot. And I've got to finish this up and go to bed pretty soon. But I do want to have a lot of it done so that there's not much detail left to correct. Yeah, when I have his field guide page written up. Oh, there goes autosave. All right. Every time it autosaves, I have to stop while it thinks over how to save it. Because if I just keep sketching, there's kind of no telling where it's going to put the pen down. And show a line marked. But yeah, I'm nearly done here. I'm gonna go over this with the eraser and just pick out some of the light. And hatch in here a bit. Okay, so for the eye, I'm going to go ahead and make it a color. And come back in here. And do some blending. This is not quite the technique that I use to paint the eyes that I make into pens. But it's looking kind of close to the effect I get. I pick up just a little bit of around the outside edge. And come in here. And I'll just do pretty much the same thing on the other side. I'll erase this so I have a good spot to put my brighter colors. Got a little bit rushed right there. And let's put his pupil in here, and then we'll be just about ready to sign it and save it. Okay. Just a second, and I'm going to figure out what is going on with this angle. Right here, yes. Here, yeah. Okay, there he is. I'll protect his eyes a little bit more with some ridge. And let's zoom out. Yeah, he's not the prettiest creature, but he is one of the actual monsters in this world. Well, let me put some sand under him. Let's see if we can do that on another layer. Yep, one of the things I love about layers. They can be rearranged. I'm just going to grab the layer and scoot it down below, and then I can erase where he's see-through, you know, because the white's really just the paper underneath, the virtual paper. But since I'm erasing on the layer that I put the sand down, I don't have to worry about erasing the layer where the image is. Let's grab a color to sign in. That's probably a bit bigger of a line than I needed. And I'm going to come in here and put the title on. I set my tablet aside so I can type. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be that big. We'll put the title about here. And then in this space below, I'm going to write up a little description of him, which will probably have more to do with the Assassin's Guild than with the Basilisk. Alright, so that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Stop by my website, www.otherrealmstudio.com, and sign up for my newsletter so that you'll know when my comic drops, and I'll be able to get in touch with you and tell you about it. So I'm glad you were here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the other realm. Good night.